Hi, I'm Brittany with Renteria Vineyard Management.
And I'm Kirk Venge, Venge Vineyards, and also winemaker for the Renterias.
So we're here today at Brown Ranch in Carneros, most beautiful vineyard, I think. And we're walking through these Chardonnay blocks right now.
Yeah, so what we're looking at today is having a walk through with a glass of wine. It's always kind of profound to taste the wine that's made from the rose, and so part of Venge's program is a Brown Ranch Vineyard Designate Chardonnay, along with Tres Perlas. We make one as well, but we're in the Dijon clone of Chardonnay right now, and Brittany's going to talk a little bit about viticulture and where the vines are in the stages, and then we'll go into the notes on the wines.
Yeah, we thought it would be a fun thing to invite you guys in with us. Even though I walk vineyards for a profession all day long, one of my favorite pastimes is at the end of the day grabbing a glass of wine and walking the vines at home. So we all really do enjoy that, and we kind of always say we never turn off the light, you just dim it a little bit. So we love viticulture, we love wine. It's a great pairing between the two, and I truly do agree. I think there's something really kind of magical about drinking the wine in the vineyard of the exact vineyard it's in. It really gives it more of a sense. You can kind of learn more about the wine, about the vineyard, connection on those notes as well. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. So would you maybe tell everybody something about vine age and the pruning style, where the vines are? What's this white kind of spray that's on there right now? Where are these vines in this stage?
Yeah, so I think, what's really special about Carneros is it's really home to Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, but also Merlot. So we do have some Merlot as well at this ranch, and actually grafting over some more this year as well. But it's really, it's a great compilation, I think, of that goes into a wine. It's not Russian River and can give some super fruity characteristics, but not necessarily Willamette Valley either, where you get that really vegetal earthiness. I think it's a great middle ground for that, and really a lot of brightness to the wine. So, we're at a stage right now, it's April, almost May, but some of these kind of April showers have put us a little, a few months ago, we were about 3 weeks ahead of schedule in regards to phenology and timing and the growth of the vines. So we've kind of been blessed over the last month with some cooler temperatures, a little bit of, we've definitely seen some frost at night. Nothing here, it doesn't really get cool enough here, but just because of the airflow. So, this really kind of a special place because the wind just tends to keep moving, which is really nice. But it's kind of put us back. We're a little bit more aligned with 2018 and 2019 now, which before we were looking at as we were closer to dates, closer to 2017. So, here we started this past week, we started spraying to prevent for powdery mildew. That's something that definitely is what I do and whatnot for the company. So we're looking at, you might see a little bit of the white residue as well on the leaves. We're getting close to suckering time here. We tend to sucker twice earlier in the spring, kind of at the very beginning, and it really helps to, when we're removing some of this little growth here, it really tends to give more power to the plant and more power to the vine. All the energy focusing on this shoot rather than if it has competition with another shoot that's growing out of the same position. So that's a practice that we typically do.
Something in the wines that we look for as winemakers is trying to frame where it's going to be when we finally go to bottle, and it all begins really with the great soil type. So if you have a look down at the vineyard floor, we've got all kinds of things. There's biomass with the cover crop that was put in, and then you've got a silty, very nice, this is a very silty, friable clay component there. Some gravels mixed in as well, but this is all very ancient seafloor out here in Carneros, and floodplain as well. So it's got this beautiful makeup, and it's also, like Brittany said, it's a windy area, which you want these vines to struggle, and so when the wind kicks up, vines usually will shut down. They stop their photosynthesis and cycling and what have you, and we get these diurnal effects in Carneros. So you'd also get a lot of moisture here, but that diurnal effect keeps the longevity of the vine, and in the wine that translates to what I love about this vineyard in particular is that citrus. Our neighbors include Hyde, Hudson is not far away. BV's got some vineyards out here. There are quite a few in Carneros all around us. So it's, but it does definitely have that sense of place versus the Russian River for this part of California. But I love the sensation of that crispness. It holds its acidity really well. You get this kind of warm and round. I think Dave Ramey says it best, that Chardonnay is the red wine of white wines, and this vineyard really does put together a beautiful assemblage, balance, and delicacy. And then as winemakers, we just guide it. Ours is the Venge and Tres Perlas are both about 40% new French oak for 16 months. So
yeah, so honey, you might want to tell them a little bit about, we're actually walking your rows right now at the Brown Vineyards. You, as well as making wine for Tres Perlas, this is the wine that, these are grapes that you source and you purchase from Renteria Vineyard Management and have a vineyard designate program for this wine.
Right. But
how long have you been doing that?
Well, this began with us in 2016, and here we are in 20. What I love about also the structure of these vines is the cane pruning, and that's the replacement cane every year. Sometimes with cane pruning we get a little lower crop at times, but also smaller clusters, and that'll relate to smaller berries quite often, especially in Bordeaux varietals. But so Chardonnay does really well. So you can see this kind of structure of the grapevine. You've got that heavy trunk.
So some people might not know what a cane pruned vine is and what a cordon pruned vine is, but so it's basically this new replacement cane coming out every year versus a spur pruned, and cordon is a permanent wood here on the wire. Yeah. And new positions pop through that and then the buds. But I would agree with you, and I think that that's kind of the way a lot of growers are moving. Just from talking to so many clients and things that we're converting over, I think in the last 2-3 years we've converted almost all of our vineyards, not all, but a lot of them, to cane prune, just because you're getting better quality fruit. Might be a little bit lower yield sometimes, but I wouldn't say that's always the case. But also I think that, just aside from that quality is to help with eutypa protection. You're replacing new wood rather than having that old wood build up with the disease in the wood every year.
This vineyard actually, before Denise and Oscar Renteria bought this property, this was a vineyard that goes back to the Saintsbury days. So if any of the audience knows the old Saintsbury Brown, some of the my favorite Pinot Noirs that had come from Carneros back before I even really knew Oscar. But a cool story is that my father, Nils Venge, used to work with Salvador Renteria. So working with Oscar is kind of, I was born and raised in Rutherford and grew up in the Napa Valley. It's my home, and the vineyard and the winery was kind of the playground, you'd say, growing up. And but kind of going into that full circle of working with the same family that your father worked with and as closely as we do is really a joy. It's something that is kind of unique, and it also brings you together. And I went to UC Davis, went on, got a winemaking degree, and started all of this in 1998 when I graduated. And so it's been a dream job just to get out and walk vineyards and unlock the story behind the soils and what you can produce and the potential of a new place. And when you see it done right, that's a real testament to the vineyard site. We're going to make sure the wine really projects where that site and place. And that's what's so interesting. I mean, the world of wine is such a large place, and the world of grape growing is different everywhere you go. This block, that block, whatever. North and south in the valley. Up valley, we don't have more than just the smallest leaves coming out, and down here we're at 6 inches to a foot out of the grapevine, which is kind of neat. This is the first time I've seen actual crop on a vine. I don't get down here that often in the southernmost part of the Napa Valley into Carneros until we get later into the growing season, but the crop load looks pretty good.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you what you think for this year. So what, one thing that we're doing right now, and I'm having all my vit techs and whatnot do, is we're looking at flower clusters right now. So anything, maybe that's undercropped or whatnot, trying to find that balance between what so it can give us some more direction when we're suckering. What do you think for this year?
It's going to be balanced. It's going to be nice. I mean, this is kind of what I'd hope to see. No frost damage in the tips or anything otherwise. Just we'll get it cleaned up and we'll be right on for a good 2020. Thankfully.
The best vintage yet?
I always would hope so. That's it's a lot of pressure to put on a year, but it's a lot of fun what we get to do and how it all unfolds, and as it were, it's a lot of fun. There's so many moving parts in the wine business, so.
And you can see my signature poppies. I like to plant poppies in all of my cover crops.
Do you like this wine, Bob?
Yeah, I love it.
You do? Oh, good.
Yeah. What's your
I hope so.
What's your favorite thing about it? And what vintage are we drinking right now?
This is 2018. This is the current release. 19 still sleeping in barrels. This is the month of April, so it's about a little less than halfway there. We'll bottle this wine every January, so about 15 months of age. But I really like the bouquet of aromatic that it has. That there's a little bit of flint, a little bit of honey. There's some floral. I like the structure that the oak gave it. I think this is going to age well as well. I'm excited to see this wine in another year. Downstream. We just bottled this in January a couple months ago.
Yeah, so one of my favorite things, one of the reasons why I like walking vineyards with you is I get to learn all these, tasting notes and whatnot that I have such limited, I do a lot of tastings and things like that, but you're my best teacher in that regard. Teach me all my notes.
So it's also for people who are curious a little bit more into the vinification. It's all whole cluster pressed, and about 50% of this wine goes native yeast fermentation. That's kind of a nice, there's some risk involved in that because you don't ever know without the controls, but it's also a nice way to kind of let nature, kind of help you with winemaking. And that's kind of a nice, kind of let it go. And, I think it's an expression of even more of the site when we can do that. But
yeah, Mother Nature. It's a little cloudy today.
A little overcast.
And I think I'm blessed for this because it was really hot earlier this week, and I wasn't really truly ready. It was 85, I think, in Yountville on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I'm actually really thankful for this weather because it gives me some more time. It brings a little bit more humidity into the soil. We started disking every other row here. A number of blocks here on this ranch I'm actually converting to permanent cover every other row, depending on the block, but really kind of geeking out about that and trying to balance the vine vigor. That's something that the French do a lot more, and seems that in the Napa Valley, I think in general, we've gotten a little far away from that. So I'm trying to kind of get back to that and give that natural balance rather than trying to manipulate the vine so much, which is a really, I think, nature's blessing, and let it kind of do its thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. And how would you say, I've walked this ranch for years, but how would you say, in your idea, how the different geology of this place? Now we start walking a little closer to where we're going to end up is a man-made pond, but you start to get into more gravels, it seems, in this site, and I know further south in the other blocks there's even more gravel content.
Yeah, it's interesting. I always like talking about the gravel and the terroir and whatnot, but for this ranch is only about 30 acres, so for being what some might think is a fairly small ranch when you're thinking about hundreds of acres, and some might think it's a huge ranch if you have 1 acre, but that is a lot of changes in this. Mm-hmm. When I first started working for Oscar, this was one of the first ranches I walked, and kind of just really dove into and spent a lot of time out here and just walking the different blocks. And some people think it's crazy, why would you have so many different blocks and so many different clones and rootstocks, but it gets a lot to manage, but it's really for the best quality.
Yeah,
you really have to change. I mean, you can see some of this gravel right here, and it really, it does change, and we've only walked 10, 20 feet down this row, and it changes a lot. And I think that's what kind of gives the greatness. Here we sell to a number of different wineries, and everybody makes wine differently. That's the beauty of the wine world, right? And that's something that we always talk about at home. But really, your winemaking style is completely different than, someone else who buys fruit the next block over. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. And then doing those comparisons, and that's something, that we're doing more and more with our wineries that we sell fruit to, is to really look at, what are the differences in winemaking from the same block even. And that's something we do at 360 a lot, is that really brings a whole nother component, a whole nother interest, I think, and a whole nother piece to the grape growing and winemaking and grape sales.
Should we talk about Pinot Noir here? We're going to
Pinot Noir
give it a try. All right.
The other biggest fruit here, and especially in Carneros. So absolutely, why don't you talk about the Tres Perlas?
Okay, so now we'll switch gears from Venge Chardonnay. We're going to move along to Tres Perlas. This is I want to say 2018, but I didn't take a look at it first.
This is an 18.
Okay, 2018 Tres Perlas. This is Oscar and Denise Renteria's own label, which I have the great pleasure of making, and I have been with them now since 2015. And this is actually from 2 clones of Pinot Noir, and they're older vines, approximately 20 years old. Clone 667 and clone 777, and also it's on another knoll like we just walked down with the Chardonnay. It's but beautiful again. That when Sainsbury planted this vineyard, they really did their research well, and they put the Pinot on the beautiful gravelly sites, and this is an example of that. This is made entirely native yeast. And I try to do that with the Tres Perlas to really differentiate it. That's almost an entirely native yeast wine program in native malolactic, of course. And so, but this is aged in 40% new French oak, 100% native yeast and native malolactic. This ages for also again 15 months and bottled unfiltered, just like the Renteria Chardonnay and my Chardonnay. But yeah, I think you get a little crushed herb, you get some dark cherry, dried cherry, these notes of, we do a little bit of whole cluster as well, so you get a little bit of, not stemmy, that would be the wrong word for it, but you get this briary and brushy, and sometimes there's another spice component in earth and an added structure to the wine as well.
Do you think that this is a good indicator and representative of the vineyard itself and the site,
I think so. I think this is expressive of the terroir of Carneros. I would say if you think of a Carneros wine, when we pull this out blind, and it would be part of that. So this has been a fun walk. We'll show you what we're drinking. We'll get a little close up again of it. This is these are the 2 wines, Chard and Pinot, both from the site. Fun to try them while we're walking the lands, and I hope everybody's enjoying their time at home, and thanks to the grape growers for the opportunity and the Renterias.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.